So in this lesson, we are going to talk about the properties of the rhombus, rectangle, and the square. What is the rhombus? The rhombus is
Teacher 6-3 will not take it.
no. Only 1, 2, 4. Now, the first one, a rhombus. This is a rhombus here. A rhombus is a parallelogram. Parallelogram, it means each 2 sides are congruent. But in the rhombus, the 4 sides are congruent. And if this is 5, this will be 5, this will be 5, and this will be 5. Okay? Sometimes you will say, teacher, it's like that square. In the square, all the 5 sides are congruent. Yes. So both of the rhombus and the square have 4 equal or 4 congruent sides. But the difference between them is the measure of each angle in the square must be 90. And the measure of each rhombus of each angle at the rhombus, it couldn't be 90. It could be any 2 angles. Could be this is 100, 100, 80, and 80. So this is now the difference between the rhombus and the square. Both of them, what is how they are the same and how they are the different? They are the same that all 4 sides are congruent. All of them have the same length. But the square, all the angles are right angles. But the rhombus, all the angles are not right. It could be any angles. But don't forget, since they are parallelogram, each 2 angles must be, or each 2 opposite angles must be equal. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes, miss.
Okay. Now.
Yes, teacher.
Yes, miss.
Let's talk about now the rectangle and the square. The rectangle and the square, both of them have 4 equal or 4 right angles. But the square have 4 congruent sides. If this is 5, 5, 5, and 5. But the rectangle, no. The rectangle, each 2 opposite sides are congruent. If this is 7, this will be 7. And if this is 5, this will be 5. So this is here, the difference between the square and the rectangle. And we talk about the difference between the square and the rhombus. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay, miss. Yes.
Yes, teacher.
Yes, miss.
For the rhombus, the square, and the rectangle, if you talk about the diagonals must bisect each other. Okay? Do you have any questions?
Teacher, all of them must have diagonals and bisects each
Yes,
other.
all of them have the diagonals that bisect each other. And let's we talk about, okay, let's say here. They have them, all of them have diagonals that they are bisect each other. But here in the rhombus, the diagonals are perpendicular.
Okay.
Okay. Now, do you have any question?
No, miss.
No.
Now here.
No, teacher.
Determine whether each statement is always, sometimes, or never true. The first one, a rhombus is a square. It is all the rhombus are square. ولا sometimes ولا never.
Always.
Always. Any rhombus is a square.
Sometimes.
No, teacher, sometimes.
Sometimes. Bravo.
Never, miss.
Sometimes.
Teacher, I got confused, يعني. The rhombus, miss, يعني, it has congruent sides.
But it doesn't have right angles.
Yes, miss. So how here we say sometimes?
Sometimes you can have some of the rhombuses like this as an example. They are 4 congruent sides and have 4 right angles. So the first one here, sometimes. The second one, a square is a rectangle.
Never.
Why never? Let's talk about the properties of the square. The 2 congruent sides of the square are congruent, and the 2 opposite angles are congruent.
So Miss Alwan.
So it can be a rectangle. Do you have another idea, Jana?
No.
All the squares are rectangles, but not all the rectangles are square. Number 25. A rhombus is a rectangle. This is the rhombus. It have 4 the rhombus. It has 4 congruent sides with 2 opposite angles and are equal. The rectangle, they have 2 opposite sides are equal, and all of the angles are right. Can I say the rhombus, it always be a rectangle, or it sometimes be a rectangle?
Sometimes.
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 Teacher, I'm not understanding 23,
Teacher?
24, and 25.
Yes, teacher, me too. I didn't understand 25. Like how the rhombus will be a rectangle.
It's not a rectangle. I told you, no, a square, a rhombus,
How
it sometimes
sometimes.
could be a rectangle. How sometimes? What are the properties of the rhombus? All of the sides are congruent.
Congruent, yeah.
Yani, it's mean any 2 sides are congruent. And in the rectangle, any 2 sides are congruent. Now, in the rhombus, any 2 angles are congruent. And in the rectangle, any 2 sides any 2 angles are congruent. So they are the same. They are always the same, but something small here, that in the rectangle we have right angles, and in the rhombus we don't have right angles. That's why I don't say always. I say sometimes. For the angles that they are opposite, they are equal. Yes. For the sides, that the 2 sides that they are opposite, they are equal. But for the type of angles, in this case, they are not the same. Why? Because in the rectangle, they must be right. In the rhombus, it's not right. Sometimes it could be right. That's why I will say that sometimes the rhombus is rectangle.
So, miss, how here a square is a rectangle always? Teacher, the square, يعني, okay, it have 4 congruent sides,
Okay.
but the rectangle too, يعني.
Okay.
Two
If you
parallel.
look, yeah, type. If you look at them here, the square, each of two sides. What's the problem here? Each two sides cannot write on the screen. Grade 8, are you here?
Yes, miss.
Yes,
Yes,
teacher.
teacher. Yes, teacher.
Yes,
we're
miss.
here.
Because I have a problem in the screen.
Excuse me, miss.
Yes.
The period like just finished 2 minutes ago.
So you can leave the meeting. Do you have French at the last period?
Yes, miss.
Yes,
طب
teacher.
Yes. But maybe it's a revision. I
For
think.
tomorrow, yes, for tomorrow test exam.
It's okay. طب you have a revision?
Yes,
Yes.
for tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yes.
for tomorrow
So
exam.
what do you have at the third? Did you finish now the Arabic?